Hey everybody. Yeah, I have another outlet, of course. As you probably heard earlier today or yesterday, I did my first audio deal on the Rec Room computer, so it's got a movie maker on there now, a better one. But I didn't use the movie maker audio like I'm using here on my computer. Instead, I used the sound recorder because I didn't know that Windows Movie Maker had been improved. In other words, the 2012 version basically upgraded and restored certain things that people complained about. But anyway, I want to read something from a fan. They posted this about 2 hours and 40 minutes ago. But this is what they said about 2 hours 40 minutes ago. This is what they said, and I quote. And I quote. They say they are really getting tired of all the recent drama about how quote unquote the Satayam characters are treated in the Sonic comic going on in the Sonic fanbase on DeviantArt and other places. It seems lately, unfortunately, most of the quote unquote drama on DA surrounding Sonic is not coming from the Sega game purists, but now the Satayam purists and Sally fans. I am a Satayam and Sally fan too, but even I'm getting sick of all this witch hunting. I keep seeing Satayam Sally fans demonizing Sega Sonic Team or Sega of Japan in general for not replacing the Sega game cast with the Satayam characters or not regarding the Satayam canon enough in their games for the past 20 years. Yet the swap bots were referenced in Sonic Chronicles. Or blame them for why Satayam didn't get a third season. There were actually numerous reasons for that, none of them having to do with Sega. Ask me if you wish to know what they are. And I think a lot of us know what they are anyway. Alright, continuing on. Where was I? Alright, among other things. Even if some of it's partially true, I think part of it is due to their own fan paranoia, biases, and speculation. If Sega truly hated Satayam, as you guys claim, why did they keep allowing DVDs of it to be released? Excuse me. I saw a few in my local store even the other day. And let's not forget, both Satayam and Underground are now on iTunes as well. Or allow them, the characters from Satayam, to continue appearing in the Archie comic series. They could easily tell Ian Flynn, the current head writer, and Paul Kaminsky, the editor, to get rid of them. Yet they haven't, as they have no reason to. Not to mention Sega were the ones who kept Ken Penders from killing off Sally back in 1997. Also, I'm tired of hearing fans accusing writer Ian Flynn of the Archie Sonic series and Mega Man comics every day of hating Satayam or Sally or hating whatever. Yet he's tried to state several times already he actually does like them. Heck, Sally haters or Son Aim diehards used to accuse him of favoring Sally over every other character, ironically. Just because he had her roboticized for a year, granted he wanted to wrap it up quicker, but then the Mega Man crossover came about, which Capcom and Sega wanted to do, so it got pushed back a bit, and the Pender situation complicated matters too, and quote-unquote weaponized/upgraded by Eggman, but that doesn't mean he quote-unquote hates Sally, nor the other Satayam characters. If Ian truly hates Sally and the other Satayam characters, Antoine, Bunny, Rhoda, Nicole, Nagas, etc., then why has he used them so frequently in the past 8 years? He's had plenty of good opportunities to get rid of them, like when Knothole was destroyed in 175, in the recent Genesis wave and such. And if you're going to claim, quote, he won't get rid of them, 'cause he knows the fans will freak, so he has them suffer instead because he hates them. And it's so evil. Then you're just kidding yourself. Did you ever see any issue before 230 when Sally was roboticized? Also, if that is the case, then why doesn't that prove he and if that is the case, then why doesn't that prove he puts what the fans want above what he wants? Ian has stated he likes SatAM and its characters, and stated he wants to continue to quote unquote preserve them in the book. And while you guys make yourself convinced that every issue since 230 he's had it out for them or wants them to suffer, what about all the bad things he had happen to the game characters or the Archie exclusive characters in the past 8 years of writing? What about all the good things he had happen to them all as well? The comic isn't all quote unquote doom and gloom as you claim. Harry Potter was in more quote unquote hopeless situations than these. Like Knuckles being turned into Urachek, losing his people, losing his father, suffering emotional issues and such, all while Ian is writing. Why aren't you guys accusing him of hating Nux too? And before you start, Ian has stated he loves Knuckles and even Ken Penda's Knuckles comic series. I've been in that boat before, and I've been accused of hating Sally, Amy, and the exact same things Ian has been accused of before by Sonic fans. So I know what it's like. Only Ian knows what he's likes/dislikes. And it's unfair of you guys to try to dictate that for other people. Would you like being constantly accused of hating Sally and stuff too, even though you like them? Think about it and grow up. It's like you guys ignore all the stuff. It's like, okay, hold on. It's like you guys ignore all that stuff and pay only attention to the SatAM characters, because that's all you care about. You don't seem to care about the Gamecast or non-SatAM characters at all. One of the reasons I stated I prefer the comics over SatAM is because it has some things, characters, stories from the games mixed in with the SatAM canon, with some of its original things too. And that's why I like the comic. I don't want it to be exclusively just game canon or SatAM canon stuff, as that would just limit the story or possibilities to that of said canon. I like having all those things in the comic. Why should they have to be nothing but either game canon stuff or SatAM canon stuff? I like both, so I like having both in the comic. If all you enjoy is one thing or the other, then you're not enjoying the entire comic. To quote Ian, enjoy the entire cookie, not just the chips. And if you hate the comic, why follow it so religiously? But hey, if you want the comic to be nothing but game adaptations or stories about Sonic and Company sneaking into Robotnik series and nothing else ever happening, then so be it. For the past 8 years, Ian has gradually repaired Sally and Sonic's friendship over the rocky breakup and the quote-unquote slap heard around the world. Before Ian came on board, Sally and Sonic couldn't even talk to each other at that point. Not to mention, issue 222 was a huge Sal tease. He's also the one who even had her rejoin the Freedom Fighters instead of just mope around Castle Acorn and do nothing like back when Carl Bolas was writing. Heck, Carl practically tried to replace her with his character Mina Mongoose at one point, having her appear more often than Sally, yet I never see anyone accuse him of hating Sally. Heck, Carl's the one who wrote the controversial slap in 134. Heck, Carl's the one who wrote the controversial slap 134 issue you all hate. I'm not saying Carl is or isn't biased against Sally, as I don't know him. I'm just making a comparison. It seems biased. Okay, it seems biased. You only accuse Ian of being biased lately. but hardly ever penders or bowlers. And honestly, I think Ian has more knowledge of the Sonic franchise and fan base than they do. All that alone doesn't convince Ian. All that alone doesn't convince me Ian is some evil Sally hater. I also find it funny fans are accusing Ian of not only hating Sally, but loving Amy/Son Amy and claiming he's trying to make Son Amy canon. Honestly, I think Ian's put more Son Sal teases than Son Amy teases looking back at all my issues. 2 years ago, excuse me. 2 years ago, Amy fans used to always accuse Ian of the exact opposite of hating Amy and preferring Sally and such. So which is he, guys? In fact, ironically, before issue 230, when Sally was roboticized, people who hate the comic and Sally used to accuse Ian Flynn of favoring Sally over every other character and claiming he made her a quote-unquote Mary Sue, made her perfect, and made the comic revolve around her and such. Which I think is BS, too, by the way, so I'm not agreeing with the Sally haters. I used to see that constantly from Sally haters, but then they shut up finally when she got roboticized, finally proving Sally isn't a Mary Sue who always gets her way and can never have anything bad happen to her, like they claimed. Or maybe they just grew up. So maybe having that happen to her was a good thing in some ways. Didn't kill Uncle Chuck, Sonic, Knuckles, Loop, or Robotnik when they got roboticized. Plus, her sacrificing herself to the roboticizer to save everyone she cares about and willing to go through with it shows how noble she is and redeemed her character to some fans, after her being a quote-unquote bitch back in the Carl Bowler's days. Yet now all of a sudden it's the opposite with the Sally haters being quiet and the Sally fans instead being the ones accusing him of hating her just because she got roboticized for a year? I don't get it. It's making Sally fans look overly protective of her and bad you don't seem to realize. Amy fans haven't been this vocal lately and bad you don't seem to realize. Oh, and that you don't seem to realize Amy fans haven't been this vocal lately. So you see, no matter what Ian does with Sally, one half of the fan base gets butthurt, if you excuse the expression, and will never be pleased. I hate to say this as a Sally fan myself, but I honestly wouldn't blame Ian if he did kill her off, as he can't do anything with her without being accused of being either a Amy hater, Son Sal whore, Sally Am fanboy, or a Sally hater, Son Aim whore, Amy Sega fanboy. He can't win with either Sally fans or Sally haters, or Amy fans or Amy haters for that matter. Let me clarify that I don't care if people hate the comic. I used to hate it as well. So I always find it funny when people call me an Archie Ian fanboy. What I don't like is people spreading slander and false information about it and Ian. Heck, I saw somebody complain about Loop being Legionites, which never happened. Also, as well as being too overly protective of the favorite characters like Sally, to the point where they can't even get a paper cut without going, "Oh, that writer must hate him." Oh, that writer must hate him. For my sorry about that. From my experiences with Ian, he really isn't biased either way. Instead, he doesn't let his personal opinions influence how he writes the book. It's proven if you look at the comic series in general. He said he didn't like the Sonic 2006 game, yet still uses Silver in the comic. And before you ask, Sega wouldn't let him do a full Sonic 06 story adaptation. He said he doesn't like Marina the raccoon, but admits she's fun to write for, due to her silliness. He even said he wasn't a fan of Drago Wolf, like most people, since Drago was a douche, yet made him into a bigger threat villain in one two-parter arc. Just because you Sonic fans in general are biased one way or another doesn't mean Ian or everyone else is. I wouldn't be surprised if people started accusing me of being a Saddam hater after making this journal, yet my friends know how much I used to geek out about the show. My point overall is you're not improving the comic with all this crap, but instead giving Saddam and Sally fans a bad reputation. Even a few of my Saddam Archie fans agree. Archie fan friends agree. I'm sorry for making such long rants, but I don't really want to debate this. Honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of debating about a blue hitch rodent. But I think you Saddam fans have gotten way too overprotective of Sally and the other freedom fighters. I understand the passion for them and two want to see them treated fairly. And two want them to still be around. But Ian said they aren't going anywhere. And it seems most of the problems the team had are getting resolved, even if unfortunately very swift due to this semi reboot the Penders fiasco forced upon the series. So why not continue to complain? So why continue to complain or demonize him, the comic, and Sega? Oh, that's right, because Sally wears clothes now, and the other characters got new looks too. And if they don't look the same as they did in '94, then they suddenly aren't the same characters you loved, right? Oy vey. It's the Green Eyes and Sonic 4 controversy all over again. Bad things happened to her and Saddam as well. Getting captured, getting nearly roboticized, nearly killed, having to put up with Sonic's snarkiness and stuff. The only difference is the comics on ongoing story, where the show had every problem get wrapped up in 20 minutes or less. Maybe that works for a TV show, but if the comic did that and fixed every problem or plot point in one issue or less, it would get stale, repetitive, and boring. And there'd be no material for newer stories and issues. Just because a writer has something bad happen to a character doesn't mean they hate them or want them to suffer. If that's the case, then Ian, Ken Penders, Cole Bolas, and heck, even Ben Hurst and the other comic and Saddam writers must really hate Sally, Sonic, and every other character in Lily too. But it's no matter what points I make, I can't convince any of you otherwise, so I don't know why I even bother debating this with any of you. No offense. I hate to say it, but it's getting a bit hard to respect Saddam Sally fans when I can't go to one Saddam fan art piece without seeing a passive-aggressive remark about Ian, Sega, or the comics lately. I've been trying my best not to bug anyone about it and trying to be more quiet about the comic lately. It's honestly debating it just makes me unhappy, and I hate to say that. Sheesh. Okay, continuing on. I'll tell you this, Beau-Skunk, you made a heck of a long journal here, my friend. Okay, continuing on. I'm getting sick of all this drama on DA, and Sonic fans constantly blaming Sega, Archie, and Ian for what they can't personally enjoy, or anything from the Sonic series, not from for why they can't personally enjoy anything from the Sonic series, not from the '90s, just because it's not like the version they grew up with. Ian is not a perfect writer, and I think he could have done some things better, especially when introducing the semi-reboot. But he's not the devil either. But honestly, I think he's one of the least biased writers we've had. And I'll take his work over the then previous writers or most fanfics writers. I don't love every issue he's written, but I don't care if that makes me an Ian fanboy. I'm not happy about some of the changes to the comic year and how they dropped some plot points to the comics. and quickly fixed them thanks to the Penda's copyright fiasco. But frankly, I'm just glad the SATAM characters are still going to be around, even with the controversial redesigns. And honestly, I've never even thought they would get rid of them in the first. And honestly, I never even thought they would get rid of them in the first place. Even when Sally was roboticized and Antoine was put in a coma. I've been trying to tell people that, yet nobody never listened to me, and just continued fear mongering and demonizing Sega, Archie, and Ian, and how we need to rebel and complain about them all the time in order to make the Sonic series better, or witch hunt people who supposedly don't like SATAM Sally. You're not making the Sonic series better, you're making the Sonic fandom worse, and even more hate-filled than it already is. You're turning people off of Sonic and SATAM, the things you claim to be passionate about. And that's about what he says. Now, it's a long one, I admit that. And Beau-Skunk, whew, you have a lot there. But let me kind of explain something. When I read this, Beau-Skunk, and this is just addressed to you and anybody else, I do agree with some of your points. I mean, I don't get along with Ian. I don't get along with Ian at all because I don't know the guy that well, because I only met him through his message boards, which I got banned off of because of things that I did, which I shouldn't have done. But still, you know, I kind of see where you're coming from, because this is something that, being somebody that's in the middle, just enjoying the series for what it is. I mean, I'm a Sonic fan. I'm an overall Sonic fan. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, I can look up on the wall to my on the wall. I can look to my right on my right wall on the wall to my right, and look up to it, and I can see my Sonic poster of all the characters from the games. I can see Sonic on there. I can see Amy, Knuckles, SBO, Charmy, Vector, Silver, Tails, Rouge, Cream, Blaze, Shadow, Big, Eggman, even Sonic himself. I could see that up there, and I like having it up there because it shows I'm a Sonic fan. I also look right in front of me. I have all 4 mini posters from the first 3 Sonic Advance games and Sonic Battle. I look on the door that goes from my bedroom to my bathroom hallway, and I have Sonic Adventure 2 Battle poster and Sonic X poster, Japanese version, with the Japanese logo of Sonic X. I mean, I can even look in front of me, again to my right on my wall, and in the frames I have Sonic 220 issue 225 cover of Sonic the Hedgehog comic book. I have the cover downloaded, which I downloaded and had developed and printed onto photo paper. I have the 225 cover printed and basically framed, as well as I also have the collage of all 4 Countdown to Chaos covers put together, printed out, and framed as well. So you look at all that and you ask yourself, and you wonder, why can't we have other people like that? Why can't we have a fan base that likes all sides of the fences, if you know what I mean? I mean, I look in front of me right now. I have I have 6 DVDs worth of Sonic X, the complete Sonic X series. Right next to an unopened, still sealed up Shout Factory release of the SATAM box set, which is my collector's edition, if you will, along with my other edition, which is my viewing copy in the rec room, which is also next to the second volume of season 3 of Sonic X. I mean, if that doesn't prove to you that I'm a fan of all things Sonic, I don't know what does. I mean, I think I even subscribed for a while to the Sonic X comic series, as well as well. So I'm a fan of everything Sonic, and I get where you're coming from, Bo. I get where you're coming from. This is something that 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 a lot of fans need to realize. We may not like some of the things that have happened in the comic. I mean, I've come out personally on video, through audio, like I am now, through text, if you will. Okay, just checking something. I've gone through it all. I've gone, you know, I, gone through it all, explaining that I may have not liked what happened with Sally. Quite honestly, I may have not liked it. I'm not hiding the fact that I support what Ian Flynn did to her. I don't, but I understand it was done for the sake of the comic, to kind of do something that you wouldn't see coming. Now, as mentioned before, was it the first time she was ever roboticized? No. You had Ken Penders himself, issue 29, do it, but the difference was he only did it for only about 8 pages of that main comic. 8 pages of that main comic. That's all he did. That's all he did it for about 8 or so pages of the main story for issue 29. And here's the thing, that was only the main story. And she being roboticized and doing what she did within those 8 pages, I should say, was surprising. It was surprising. But Ian Flynn, I will admit, is not the first person, to do this. He's not the first person to go out and roboticize her. But I will admit, Ian Flynn is the first one to make the roboticization go as long as it has. Now, on the other side of things, I do on the other side of things, I do understand why people hated it, didn't like it like I did. I didn't like it personally because I knew it was going to make her say and do things normally that she doesn't do as a character, but story-wise, you have to understand she was only saying those things because, honestly, she couldn't control what she was saying. She couldn't control her actions. But here's what's funny about that, though. I said this before, Bo, and anybody else listening. I said this before, and I'll say it again. I truly believe, in my heart of hearts, I truly believe that when you take a look at 238, when you take a look at the further issues after that, about 239, 240, you will see scenes in there that kind of indicate to you that Ian Flynn's original plan was to have her fight her robotization, have her fight Eggman's control, regain her free will, and have that be the first step to her being restored. Now, again, I totally get. Now, again, like I said, Beau-Skunk, and anybody else watching and listening, I should say, I understand completely where you're coming from. I really do. I really do. I understand where you're completely coming from. I understand that, we may not like certain things happening. We may not care for certain things happening the way they do. But we have to accept it. We have to realize that, it happens for a reason. If it's to progress the storyline, it's to progress the storyline. We just got to accept that. We got to realize that. We can't be angry about something happening and not going our way because we don't like what we see. We just got to accept it and, just let it be. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said in a little video series I'm doing, or little bit videos I'm going to piece together as one big video eventually, where I talk about this whole situation, sort of like Countdown to Chaos and all. I'm going to be working on that. But basically, one thing I've pointed out there, and I've pointed it out not just in this one of these upcoming videos, or in this upcoming big video, but I've also mentioned it previous times. When it comes to the redesigns, it's not the first time characters have been redesigned in animation or in comics or anything. It's not the first time. I mean, you want to use Sonic for a good example. Let's take a look at Season 2. In fact, first of all, let's look at Heads or Tails. See how the characters went from that episode to the following episode, and then, which obviously to me was supersonic, but anyway, go from there to then, and then take a look at the episodes in Season 2 and how the characters were changed. The characters have been redesigned even in the Sadie Am series. We have to remember that. They were redesigned there. That was, from Season 1 to Season 2, they were redesigned. They were colored darker. Most of them had pupils now in their eyes. Bunny didn't get her pupils until about Blast of the Past Part 1, but anyway. Sally had a vest. Antoine and Rhoda were redesigned. So, yeah, it's not the first time the characters had been redesigned. I think what upsets fans most of all is the fact that it's been 20 years that they've had these same designs, if you will. Yeah, you've had a few tweaks here and there. You take a look at Sally. For as long as she was going on, she had long hair and everything until about 177, and then bam, gone. And I do credit Ian Flynn for doing that, and that was a good thing. Take a look at Bunny. Take a look at Bunny Rabbit. She called bowls of Ken Penders, depending on who was writing it, decided to have her go Daisy Duke-wise and have her finally grow out her hair a little bit to it was like a little like short bangs and all that, and then finally just grow it out long, and then had her go cowgirl, which I thought was one of the best, tweaks, if you will, clothing add-ons, if you will, to a character. I thought was really cool. I really like that. Had her go cowgirl for a while. To me, that was unique in its own right. It was really unique in its own right. So, again, it's not the first time characters have had redesigns or tweaks done to their design. I think it's more along the lines that when you look at them in the redesigns and then you take a look at them compared to what they were in the past, and it's basically like you're making them. It's basically. I think what bothers them most of all, it's the fact that if you're gonna. I think what really bugs them is if you're going to do this, then you should at least give them a reason why. You should come out and give them a reason as to why you're doing this, why you've suddenly decided to take the characters and as some of them have put it, segify them. At least give a real reason. Don't just say, oh, because, give a real legit reason. And I think that's what fans want. They want a real legit reason. I've heard Ian Flynn, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if you've heard this, but I'm sure anybody else has or hasn't. But I've heard Ian Flynn say, hey, either we make them like this or we don't have them at all. And you are right about one thing, Beau. Ian's been on this comic since about, 160 or so, since Birthday Bash. He's been on the comic for that long. He's been on the comic for almost, what is it now, going on now, 94 issues? 94 issues? And yeah, there's a lot of things that he's done that are good, and there's a lot of things that he's done that are bad. You can list down some of the things that he's done. But I think the real reason people complain about Sally being roboticized and being weaponized in the story arc that took place, the reason they complain about it is because throughout the run that it went for, from basically about the end of 230 all the way to the end of 247, the reason fans complain about it is because basically for majority of that, as they called it, second world tour, if you will, World Tour 2, if you will, that was done by team fighters Sonic, Amy, and Tails and T-Pup. The reason they complained about it is because every time those three would encounter Sally, it was basically a rinse and repeat kind of action. It's like, try to stop, fight her off, try to stop her, rescue her, almost rescue her, let her go, rinse and repeat. That's basically what they were upset about. It's like to them, it's like, okay, they could just, because here's the thing. Here's what happens. There's an issue, I can't think of the issue right now, where T-Pup stuns, I think it's the endangered species arc, where T-Pup stuns Metal Knuckles, the Metal Knuckles robot. He stuns him, and when fans look at that, they're like, well, wait a minute. If T-Pup can do that, why can't they have T-Pup do that with Sally? Just stun her, capture her, take her back, try to free her, restore her free will, and then de-roboticize her. Why can't they? When they look at that, they're like, why couldn't they do that? It could have been easy. If they could. I mean, fans, when they saw that, it basically, I think, seeing part of that is what really made the blood boil. It's because it's like, well, wait a minute. If that animatronic dog can do that, why couldn't they just have that dog do it to Sally beforehand and then just be done with it? We'd be over and done with. Because this is one thing I look at, and I do agree with some people. As a matter of fact, I think I'm the one that started this myself. You see, every comic book writer or novel, any graphic novel or novel writer or whatever, but mainly comic book writers, they always like to write that one story arc that's going to be their masterpiece. That's going to define their legacy, their run on the comic. Ken Penders did it with the 4-issue deal of Endgame. He did. The people that wrote the original Phoenix Saga and X-Men, that defined their legacy. The writers that did the Doomsday deal with Superman, all those issues, all those Superman issues and Justice League issues that led up to issue 75, the death of Superman. That was a story arc that's defined them even to this day. Defined their run and legacy on the comic even to this day. Civil War in Marvel defines the writers that were involved in those stories and issues related to it. The list can go on and on and on. I look at Spider-Man. Let's talk about the death of Gwen Stacy. The issues that were leading up to that, the death of her father, and then later on the death of herself. The writers that did that define the legacy on the run in Spider-Man. End Song and War Song of X-Men revolving around the Phoenix. It defined who those writers were in a sense. The point is, folks, every comic book writer out there has done this. They've done these kind of things. Heck, even with web comics, it's been defined. This legacy has been defined. Chris Fisher, codename Fish, over at the Acorn Cafe, did the infamous and well-renowned webcomic of Rescue Rangers of Mice and Mayhem. that defined who he was. That defined his legacy as a fan and a potential writer, official writer of any other comics out there. You take a look at Spider-Man and the stories that revolved around the Revelations arc. The people that wrote that defined their legacy. But again, if you want to talk like I said, you want to talk about major stories in other comics. Like I said, the Gwen Stacy deal, the death of Gwen Stacy and her father, that story arc involving around the great Doc Ock, it involved villains like Doc Ock in the Green Goblin. That entire story arc defined who those people were, defined the writers who wrote it. The people, like I said, that wrote the classic Phoenix story when it first was published defined their legacy and their run on the X-Men comic. The people, like I said, that wrote the Death of Superman the Doomsday Death of Superman arc and all those issues that led up to it defined their legacy and run on the comics. Again and again, like I said, Ken Penders did the same thing. He did it with Endgame, just like the writers did with Civil War in Marvel Comics. Ken Penders did with Endgame. You can say Carl Bowlers defined his moment in the Sonic comics when he did the slap. But you see, that's exactly, and when I bring this all up, that is exactly what Ian Flynn, in my opinion, was trying to do with the Mecha Sally arc. The Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II arc, if you will. He was trying to define his legacy. He was trying to define his mark. He was trying to define his run on the comic. Did he succeed? Not the way he was hoping for. Well, let's just say he's hoping Countdown to Chaos makes up for it, because he did not succeed the way he wanted to. Because like I said before, and I'll say it again, he had things planned. He had things set and ready to go. He did. He had things set and ready to go from the very beginning. And again, you can look in issues of 238. You can look at 239 and 240 or 241, and you could see exactly hints here and there that he was planning on restoring Sally's free will down the line. You could see that. But again, because of what happened behind the scenes with the Penders situation and everything else, it was all thrown aside. It was all for nothing. And now, whether we like it or not, he's doing what he has to make sure he redefines his, that he does a fit, that he basically, in my opinion, accomplishes his goal of defining his run on this comic. And he's going to define his run. He's going to define it. He's going to define his legacy. And he's going to define his run with this comic by putting Countdown to Chaos and whatever takes place afterwards on the map. On the map. That's what he's doing. Do you think, honestly, he wanted to go in this direction so quickly if he was already not planning to? Of course not. But he's doing it. He's doing it because it's the best thing right now. It's the best option he's got. Now, you can come out and you could define yourself. You could hate what he's done, and it's true. Like I said earlier, I didn't like what he did with Sally, and I never will like what he did, but I accepted it. You know how I accepted it? I waited to the right time to finally open every single issue. That right time, and you could check it right here on YouTube. You could check it right here on YouTube. That right time was 252. When I got 252, I opened every single issue from 230 all the way up to 247. I finally did it. And from what I saw, I thought some of it was pretty good. being a longtime fan, I could see exactly, as I've mentioned before, in that long ass review that I did, not just on text, not just on video, but through text. And I will provide a link to one of the sites that I did it on. In fact, I'll provide you a link right here through DeviantArt where I did it, where I talked about it. And the truth is, I said in that review, and I quote, that even though I was looking through some of the issues as I was videoing as I was making that video that you could see here on YouTube, as I was recording it, and I could see even through those little details, even just through, as you could say, skimming it, just skimming through it, if you will. I could see littlest details. I could see the tiniest of details of exactly where he wanted to take this comic, where he wanted to take it. I could see it. 238. She gave Tails an option. If she was truly gone, would she give him that option? No, she would have given him no, this is what she would have done. She would have kind of done that, and then when his back was turned, she probably would have done something else. Something maybe stun him or something like that with a blast. But she didn't do that. She said, you've got a choice. Save me or save them. And she didn't do nothing. And then when she went to go after her brother, there was a sign. I think it was 240 or 241. I think it was 241. I can't remember. You could see when she's looking out her brother's window of his hut, you can basically see that after she says target lost, she looks up out that window, and you can almost see like a saddened look on her face. And quite honestly, if she was totally gone at Eggman's control, she was totally under Eggman's control, she would have went straight for that hut and went right after her brother. No questions asked. But she didn't. She took her time. Why? Because, again, I truly believe Ian Flynn had plans originally to do the story arc, to take the story arc to a point to where she would regain her free will, and it would be the first step to her regaining her free will. I mean, not regaining her free will, but being restored to flesh and blood. I think that's originally what he had planned. And you know what? When you think about the redesigns, maybe he was going to go with that. We don't know. Maybe he was going to go with the redesigns. Because when you think about it, when you're bringing a character back, when you're giving them a rebirth, sometimes you got to give them a rebirth with a new look. It's like every day. I think somebody even did a comparison one time. You know, I don't know if I think it's a video here on YouTube somewhere or whatever. But somebody did a comparison. It said something along the lines of, we may not, when it comes to the redesigns, it's almost like, well, we look at ourselves and we always change. We're changing. We're constantly changing every day. Do we have the same haircut? Do we have the same hair look? Hair design sometimes? No. For example, if my hair gets a little out of control, I go and get it cut. I get the cut that you constantly see in videos. You can see the difference. And sometimes in some videos, when you see me growing a beard, sometimes you'll see that beard and sometimes you'll see it gone. Does that mean I've changed? No, I'm still me. I just gave myself a different look. When people change clothes, does that mean we've changed personally? No, it's just we're still ourselves. We're just changing our clothes. See, that's basically what some people have been pointing out. And again, who's to say the redesigns probably weren't planned in the first place, even without the lawsuit? Now, true, I admit the lawsuit didn't help, but what are you going to do? But, but again, getting to the point, Beau-Skunk, I understand completely where you're coming from. I'm sure a lot of people do. I just think honestly what it is that some people just cannot. I think what it is fans just want something that's going to satisfy both. And I think with Countdown to Chaos, the Aftermath is supposed to do just that. It's supposed to be a blending of both worlds into one, both continuities into one. It's supposed to be a blending of that. You know, when you take a look at 253, and again, this is about looking at the tiniest hints and tiniest details. When Rotor tells Sonic that he thought Amy had gone after him, and basically gone to follow after Sonic, because she was supposed to be helping to guide the Sky Patrol, if you will. When he said that, what does that remind you of? That reminds you of the Amy from the games. The Amy that Sonic could say, "Oh, just stay here, I'll be right back," and yet she constantly follows him. Yeah, she constantly follows him. Because even if he says, "Stay here, I'll be right back, guard this," right here, she still follows him. And that's basically, it sounds like what they're trying to bring back, they're going to bring into the comics here, a blending of both continuities. We may not like it, some of us may not like it, but hey, if Ian believes it's going to satisfy both ends, it's going to justify the means, if you will, then so be it. And so be it. Again, and it's like I said on video. It's like I said in a video. It's like I said in text recently. We don't know what the aftermath is going to have, what kind of after effects and the after effects are going to have on the characters themselves. You know, we may have some Sonic Universe story arcs coming up after the Shadows Fall arc. If you have the Shadows Fall arc, we may have some story arcs involving around Bunny and Antoine and maybe Sally trying to readjust to this new world to where they know about the old one now. Now they have to readjust to living life now in a blended world, in a world that blends both the old world and this new one and blends memories with the new memories with the old. So, to me, I truly believe that's what's going on here. And again, you know, I understand exactly where you're also coming from when it comes to the whole, you know, Ian Flynn favors one over the other kind of deal. Yeah, it is a no-win situation, but here's the thing. When I look at this, I think what they want is for at least some kind of satisfaction, in a sense. That's what I think they want. I think even, and this is my honest opinion, I think there are some fans out there that are diehard game fans, so much of a diehard game fan, that they would want the only thing that could satisfy them is to have one issue, or at least a mini series of issues, whether it's in universe, whether it's some backstories in the main comics or whatever. They just want several issues that act like a different level of a game, to me, and that would satisfy them. I think even what would satisfy them is to do a story where Amy dreams about her and Sonic being married. Even if it's a dream sequence, they'd rather have that because it's like, yay, it was a dream sequence, but at least we got Sonic and Amy married, even if it was in a dream. Yay! I believe that would satisfy them. At least it would be acknowledged that, hey, yeah, I do understand. At least it would be acknowledged by Ian Flynn and some other people that, yeah, we do understand this is what you want. Even if it's in a dream, there you go, be happy. But I think what really upsets some Son Amy fans, if you will, a little bit, and I mentioned this, and this is hard to say. I mentioned this, oh my God, I can't even believe this, 32 months ago. Yeah, going on 32 months. 32 months ago, I mentioned this when 222 came out. And there was a scene in there where Amy basically came to Sonic and Sally's aid, and she said, leave them alone. Hey, you guys go have fun, go enjoy your date. And she basically told the people there that, hey, as long as, if being with Sally makes Sonic happy, that's cool with me, it makes me happy. And she even acknowledged that, yeah, someday Sonic and her would be together. Because she still has, and to me, that shows that she still has hope and belief that she will be Sonic's girlfriend someday, officially will be his girlfriend someday. But you know what that also tells me? And shows me? It tells me and shows me that Ian Flynn understands that if you're going to get the Amy haters off your back, if you're going to get people that hate Amy to like her, you've got to mature her. You've got to put some realisticness, some reality in there, and that's what he did. He put reality in there when he made her, in my opinion, grow up, and mature and realize that, hey, if Sonic wants to be with somebody right now, that's cool. Let him be. Don't try to pursue him any other way. And, you know, if you wanted him to be happy, let him be happy. And I liked it. It showed to me that at least she's willing to say, hey, look, believe me. I mean, it shows that she's willing to believe that, hey, someday her and Sonic will be together. It's just right now is not the time. Right now, if he wants to be with Sally and it makes him happy, that's cool with me. That's cool with her. And I like that. I like what they did there. That's cool. That, to me, that is a good thing. That is a good thing. But again, that's one of the things that I think upsets some Amy fans, some Son Amy fans, because it's almost like within that one issue, that few pages, it's like pretty much their hopes of having Sonic with Amy just went up in flames, went up in smoke. But again, it's like you said, no one can be satisfied. No one wins. It's a no-win situation. But I think that's what he's trying to attempt with Countdown to Chaos. So that's all I'm going to say. I'll provide a link to your journal so anybody else can read it and check it out. And please, as he says, respect his wishes and don't flame or anything. Just respectfully put some opinions on there, whether you agree or not with what he had to say, and do the same with this one. Please respect what I had to say here and reply to what he put. And I apologize if this video was long, and I apologize if what he wrote was long, and I'm sure he understands that as well. But again, I'll provide a link to what he's had to say. I'll provide a link to the long review I did for 230 to 247. And you guys check those out. Let us know what you guys think. Comment below. And take your time in listening to this video. If you want to, go to MP3 or something like that. And download it into an MP3 and enjoy from there. So, until next time, God bless and take care. Comments are welcome.